back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Friday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. And oh baby, are we ready to cook here today? 10 total bets for the NFL. So, oh my God, coming off a 2-2 day yesterday. Should have been 3-1. Both Ian and I got burned quite badly by the Raiders yesterday. We're not going to spend too much time on that off the top of the show, but in the second half of the program, we'll be weighing in on that and also discussing a few NFL related topics. So let's bring in my co-host for the day, my guy, Ian McMillan, senior editor over at BetSide. Look at him. This is a man of honor. This is a man of integrity. Let me tell you why. He is once again feeling under the weather, and he shows up for work. He's not a little bitch, right, Ian? Is that fair to say you're not a little bitch?
I think that's fair to say. But yeah, I think I might be sick because of losing the Raiders last night. Because I did give out 6.5 on the show, but I think I mentioned I had it at 5.5. I bet it early in the week. So even when the Rams scored their first touchdown, I was like, all right, perfect. They're covering 5.5. And then Baker Mayfield goes 98 yards. So I think the bad beats are starting to take a toll on my health, Joe. I can't handle it much longer. But, yeah, here I am. I'm ready to give out some more picks, 5 more picks for the NFL this Sunday. I'm sure 3 of them will end in bad beats, but that's the game.
Yeah, sometimes that one really stung. There's a few a year, I'm immune to a lot of, bad beats and stuff, but there's a few a year that really sting. That was one that really stung. Sometimes it's a 50-50 and you don't win, you're bad, or sometimes you just make a bad call. You're just like, whatever, shitty call by me. Houston Rockets last night, shitty call by me. But that teaser I had, that was a good call by me. How'd that work out? It didn't work out very well for me. We'll touch on that more later, but we got a lot to get into here, guys. 10 total picks for the NFL. Let's get right into the action, Ian. We're going to start things off in Detroit, where the Vikings are in town. This should be a pretty fun game. This game has a total of 51.5. Boom! All over the over in this game. So check out this Lions offense at home. Absolutely going off. Check out these numbers. They are second in points per game at home at 31.9, third in yards per play. As a result of this, and their defense being awful, the average combined score in their 7 home games is 59.8. Each offense will be zipping up and down the field all game long. These defenses 30th and 32nd in yards per pass attempt allowed. Detroit also 31st in yards per rush allowed, 31st in third down defense, 31st in red zone defense, but first in red zone offense. Pretty much the opposite of the Broncos. They are the perfect over team, and they have a great opponent to tango with on Sunday. Give me the over between the Vikings and the Lions. Ian, what are you looking at first?
Yeah, Joe, I'm looking at the Battle of Texas to get things started off for me here. The Houston Texans against the Dallas Cowboys. It is a massive spread. Might be the biggest spread of the season. And I'm going to take the points. I will take the Texans plus 17 in this one. I know Houston is the worst team in the league. I'm not going to argue that fact, but I don't think they're as bad as a lot of people think. I don't think it's every team and then a huge gap and then the Texans way at the bottom. You look at something like net yards per play. They're sitting at minus 0.9. That's the same as the Chargers and the Steelers. Would you even set the Chargers or Steelers as 10-point underdogs to the Cowboys? I don't think so. Maybe the Steelers, but certainly not the Chargers. And the Texans actually do have a couple of bright spots. Those bright spots being third down defense and red zone defense. They're actually 12th in the NFL in third down defense, 6th in the NFL. 7th in the NFL and red zone defense, allowing a team to only score a touchdown on 51.6% of the red zone trips against them. If they can hold the Cowboys to field goals on a few drives, that's going to go a long way in them covering this massive spread. I also think it is a little bit of a sell high spot on Dallas, who has beat up on some teams as of late. Everyone thinks that they're going to run away with this one, but I don't know. I don't know, Jim. I think Houston might be able to keep this one a little bit closer than the spread. I'll take the Texans plus 17.
All right, Ian taking a shot on the big dog there. Next up, NFC East battle. We got the Eagles in New Jersey to take on the Giants. This game has a total of 44.5. Give me the under. In this one, we've been playing the Giants home under all season. Why stop now? It is 15-2-2. to the under in their last 19 games at home. 14 of those 19 games failed to cross 40 points. New York has zero big play ability. They are dead last in passing plays at 20-plus yards. This is a tough spot for Danny Dimes on Sunday. Second most pressure and fifth most sacks allowed for the Giants. Philly, second most sacks in the NFL. Also first overall in yards allowed per play and yards allowed per pass attempt. They've held 3 of their last 5 opponents to 17 or fewer points. Some bright spots on the Giants defense as well. Top 6 in third down and red zone defense while generating the third most pressure. So I think they can keep Jalen Hurts from completely going off here. Give me the under in New Jersey. What's next, Ian?
From one big underdog to another, I will take my New York Jets. I've adopted them as one of the lone Jets defenders out there. I'll take them plus 10 against the Buffalo Bills in a big AFC East showdown, especially considering the Jets just upset the Bills a couple weeks ago. I was a little bit surprised to see this spread this big. You look at my favorite stat out there, net yards per play. I talk about it all the time. The Bills are 3rd in the NFL, but the Jets aren't too far behind them, coming in at 8th in the NFL in net yards per play. And a big reason for that is because their defense is fantastic. Their defense continues to be elite, 3rd in opponent yards per play, keeping their opposing teams to just 4.8 yards per snap. And listen, let's have a little faith in Mike White. I know he threw 2 interceptions last week against the Vikings, but outside of that, he had a pretty solid game. And usually, he doesn't need to do a whole lot because the Jets' defense is so good, it should carry them to a lot of wins. Mike White needs to not throw interceptions, and scoring touchdowns instead of field goals in the red zone would be nice. But I think the Jets can do enough to keep it close here against Buffalo. I'll take them plus 10 on Sunday.
All right, Ian. Big Jets stand. Okay, moving on. Ravens-Steelers. Pretty low total in this one at 37, but guess what? It's not low enough. God damn it. Give me the under. In this game has serious potential for a rock bottom scoring. Check out the Ravens here in recent week. Last week, they combined for 19 points with the Broncos. 2 weeks before that, they combined for 16 points with the Panthers. Combine that with some very ugly offensive numbers for the Steelers. They're 28th in points per game at 17.8, 30th in yards per play. Quite poor at moving the ball through the air. Defensively, both of these teams are great versus the run. 3rd and 5th in yards allowed per rush attempt. Baltimore is 1st over its last 3 games. And the Ravens, elite third down defense. 2nd in opponent third down conversion percentage on the season. Expect a lot of punting from both teams in this one. Give me the under between the Ravens and the Steelers. Ian, what do you got next, buddy?
Next up, I got a game, NFC battle here, and I will take the Panthers plus 3.5 against the Seahawks in this spot. I don't have an underdog moneyline pick of the week. If I were to pick one, I think I'd actually go with the Panthers, though. Sam Darnold looked pretty good in his first start for the Panthers this season a couple weeks ago against the Broncos. If you can have a similar performance against a much worse defense in Seattle, I think the Panthers are going to be all right. Darnold might be the best option for the Panthers of the 3 quarterbacks that they've played this season. And the Panthers might not be as bad as you think, specifically on defense, specifically their pass defense, 8th in opponent yards per pass attempt this season. And that's going to be huge against the Seahawks team who has a banged-up backfield and lately have thrown the ball a ton. They've called a passing play on 66.85% of their plays over the last 3 games. That is the 5th highest mark in the NFL over that stretch. And we know the Panthers are coming off a bye week. Maybe that'll help them. I don't know, interim coach. I don't know, who really knows, but maybe. Extra rest, extra time to game plan. I think the Panthers might be able to keep it close against a Seahawks team that just barely beat the Rams last week. Give me Panthers plus 3.5.
Banged up backfield, banged up backfield, banged up backfield, banged up backfield. Say that 4 or 5 times quick. It's actually not that difficult. Okay, moving on. The Denver Broncos are playing. So you know what we're doing. We're taking the under in their game with the Kansas City Chiefs in 10, total of 44 points. Why stop now? It's hit in 11 of their 12 games here this season. Those games had an average combined score of just 30.8. The average combined score, 30.8 in their games this season. Denver has only topped this number of 44 in one game this season versus the disgrace that is the Las Vegas Raiders. They are 23-6 to the under since the start of last season. The weekly payday. Humiliating numbers for the Broncos offense. So we got the trend and we got the stats to back it up. The Broncos offense is somehow averaging 13.8 points per game. They are 30th on third down. They are last in the red zone. They are allowing the most pressure and fourth most sacks, which is an area this KC defense can exploit. Kansas City's defense can bring the heat. They rank in the top 7 in both pressure percentage and sacks. On the other side, I think Denver's defense can keep Mahomes and the boys from completely going off. They're second in points allowed, near the top of the league in many other top defensive categories. Give me the under in Denver. Ian, let's keep rolling. All right. Let's keep rolling.
Love it.
Here.
I will take the Bengals minus 5.5 against the Browns for my next pick. A little AFC North action. I bet against the Browns last week because I thought Deshaun Watson would be rusty. My bet didn't hit because the Texans gave up 2 defensive touchdowns and a special teams touchdown. But my prediction about Deshaun Watson was correct. He was rusty. 12 for 22 with a 54.5% completion rate. Only 131 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. I will be fading the Browns until/if Deshaun Watson starts to look better like he did a couple of years ago. But I think it's going to take a few games at least for him to get back into form. And a big reason for the Bengals' success recently, a big reason why they've been hot, is their offensive line, which absolutely killed them at the start of the season. It's starting to round into form here. Joe Burrow has only been sacked on 3.6% of his dropbacks over his last 3 games. That is the 6th best mark in the NFL over that stretch. And now they got Jamar Chase back. Their offense is rolling. Their defense has been playing very good. They shut down the Chiefs for the most part last week. Bengals starting to look like their AFC champion selves from last season again. I'll ride them against Deshaun Watson and the Browns here on Sunday, minus 5.5.
Yeah, baby. All right, my final pick of the show. We got the Bucs in San Francisco to take on the 49ers. Can I just say, nobody gives a shit about Tom Brady returning to the Bay Area where he grew up. Why is that a story? No one's watching this game because Brady grew up in the Bay Area. Nobody gives a shit. Stop promoting that. Anyhow, my pick for the game, total 37.5, low number. But guess what? It's not low enough, god damn it. Give me the under. Rude awakening for Brock Purdy coming in this game. Todd Bowles, supposed defensive mastermind, head coach of the Bucs. This is his time to shine. This is a much taller task for Purdy than the Dolphins defense. Tampa Bay, pretty good on the defensive side of the football, tied for 5th in yards allowed per pass attempt, while ranking 4th in sacks. On the offensive side of the football, Tampa Bay, an absolute joke. 25th in yards per play, dead last in yards per rush attempt, 27th in points per game. They've scored 18 or fewer points in 5 of their last 7 games. Now they got to take on maybe the best defense in the NFL. San Francisco has allowed 11.4 points per game over their last 5 games. Now that D will be asked to step up even more, given the quarterback situation with Brock Purdy in there. And you might think, oh, this is too low to take an under. But guess what? The average combined score in Bucs games this season is 36.4. They're accustomed to very low-scoring games. Give me the under in Tom Brady's return to the Bay Area. Oh, my God. How exciting is that, Ian? Okay, Ian, bring things home for us here. Your final pick of the show.
Yeah, looking at the Sunday night football matchup here between the Dolphins and the Chargers, and I actually think this game is a complete mismatch. I will take the Dolphins minus 3 in this spot. Oh my God, this is my flu game. This is a. All right, let's get through this last pick here, Joe, before I die on camera. Net yards per play. The Miami Dolphins rank 4th in the NFL. The Los Angeles Chargers rank all the way down at 30th. That's a pretty big difference there, guys. The Dolphins, one of their biggest weaknesses early in the season was their defense, specifically their secondary, but they've really come around in recent weeks. 2nd in opponent yards per pass attempt over their last 3 games, and that's going to prove to be valuable against the Chargers team that throws the ball a ton. No team actually throws the ball more than the Los Angeles Chargers. So that Dolphins' hot secondary is going to be a big key in this game. Let's not react to the Dolphins' loss last week to Brock Purdy and the 49ers. They actually outgained them if you look at yards per play, but going 0 for 7 on third down and a couple turnovers kind of killed them. But hey, guys, let's limit those turnovers. Let's convert some third downs, and we're going to be all right. I think they beat up on the overrated Chargers on Sunday night. Give me Dolphins -3.
Hey, you'll get no debate from me on that one. My Miami Dolphins, big game. I like Tua to bounce back. You know, he's going up against a Chargers pass rush, which is one of the worst in the NFL. You know, I'm not going to beat them up too badly because of that loss to San Francisco there last week. They should have been able to capitalize, but hey, you can't knock them out of the park every single week. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, do me a favor, that like button right down there. Takes 2 seconds. The subscribe button too. It makes me look good when I can say, hey, look at all these new subscribers we're bringing in. And we are bringing quite a few more in. We've grown the channel quite a bit since Chasing That Paper debuted. So keep helping us out. We would appreciate that quite a bit. And we'd also appreciate if you place your action over at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Kick off your day with the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBONUS, and your first wager is risk-free. Up to $1,000. That's VI bonus, all one word, no spaces, and your first wager is risk-free. Up to $1,000. That's, visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 or older. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Going to the well. That's what he's been known to do around here. So yeah, let's circle back on this Thursday night football game from last night, Ian. You know, a lot of these beats, you lose some games and they just roll right off you. You know it's a bad beat when it fucks up your sleep that night, right? I slept horribly last night because of that. Like I was counting that as a win. The cigar was lit. And the Raiders absolutely took their foot off the gas, but let's focus on the positive side of things first. And the positive is Baker Mayfield. Good for him. You know, the Cleveland Browns completely threw this guy under the bus despite him playing hurt on many occasions. They said they wanted an adult at the quarterback position. And what did they get last week? Well, they got Deshaun Watson, who had the entire season to prepare for a game versus the worst team in the NFL. He didn't produce one offensive touchdown. Baker Mayfield had 2 days to prepare for that game. And look what he did. So fuck you, Cleveland. And good for Baker Mayfield. Start putting this guy in a bunch of commercials again. I think you should it just, like, ironically. Just throw him and a bunch of commercials. So, as for the Las Vegas Raiders, let me be crystal clear in saying that every single person who is associated with that organization should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. And I mean everybody, from Mark Davis down to McDaniels, to Derek Carr, to the guy selling hot dogs at the game. If you're the guy selling hot dogs at the game, remove yourself from this situation immediately. Quit your job. None of this 2 weeks notice shit either. Don't even call. Don't email. Send a text saying, I fucking quit, and do it right now. You do not want to be associated with the Las Vegas Raiders. Complete and total joke. Looking at the Raiders, it's time to, tear it down. Go into a rebuild at this point. Derek Carr, we get a version of this every year. This year, it's extremely bad. But what was that last night, Ian? So what takeaways do you have from the game last night, Ian? Whether it be, the Baker Mayfield stuff or just the Raiders being a complete and total joke?
Yeah, the Raiders are the Raiders. They do this every single year. They seem to lose games that they have no business losing. They did at the start of the year. We thought they were going to go in a little bit of a late playoff run, and then they Raiders themselves. They Raidersed all over the place. I should have saw it coming. Yeah, I don't really have too much more to add. It was what it was, man. It was a bad beat. It killed me. I'm off the rails.
Yeah, tear it down, like Derek Carr, he built up some sympathy with everybody when, I kind of poked fun at him when he cried at the podium a couple weeks ago. I was like, have a little bit of perspective there, a little bit, Derek. Like, we can appreciate that you're working hard, but you guys are also in the top 0.0001% of salaries in North America here. So let's settle down a little bit on that. And yet, that was just chicken shit football all the way around. They were playing in the second half as if they were up by 40 points. They were up by what, 13? So good for Baker Mayfield. That was awesome. That might be like the peak moment of his career. And if so, good for him, because Baker Mayfield, he's a guy, he was kind of came onto the scene as he was recognized as a cool guy. Kind of in the same vein as Joe Burrow, not as talented as Joe Burrow, but he came into the scene. People were excited. I remember he got into that first game for the Browns on a Thursday night. Tyrod Taylor got injured, and he came in. Baker Mayfield, he had, I think, 1.5 really good seasons there, but then he became just a complete and total punching bag for people on the internet. We see this happen with different type of athletes all the time. And some of that, maybe you could say Baker brought upon himself. Russell Wilson's probably the biggest punching bag in the world right now. Who knows if he'll redeem himself. But, good for Baker Mayfield. He doesn't have to do much for the rest of the season. If he can avoid completely embarrassing himself the rest of the season, that would be a good start. But one game I want to ask you about, Ian, I gave a over pick for this game. You didn't weigh in on the side. Is this Lions-Vikings game. So I think a lot of people would look at this and maybe be surprised to see the Vikings as a small underdog in Detroit in this game. And it's kind of interesting because I looked at that at first and I said, geez, well, this looks like a play on the Vikings. Then you start to dig into the numbers and the stats that me and you are always looking at. There's just nothing there whatsoever to support the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings have reached like peak fraud. They got completely outplayed by the Jets last week. The national media, who usually only counts wins and losses towards how good a team is, they're starting to catch on to the fact that the Vikings are fraud. So how do you see this game playing out in Detroit?
I'm on the Lions. Yeah, massive line movement in this game as well, because the Vikings actually opened up as, I think, 2.5-point favorites, and now it's flipped to the Lions being 2.5-point favorites. But it's hard for me to say I'm confident in it because I've been calling the Vikings frauds basically all season, and I keep betting against them, and I keep losing while doing it. So, the Vikings, though, statistically, I mean, if you want to look at stats, Vikings fans will say, oh, winning is the only stat that matters, nothing else matters, and fans of teams get mad when I call their teams frauds, but I mean, you got to back it up with some stats here. And the one going around this week, that is, if every one-score game the result was flipped, the Vikings would be dead last in the NFL at 1-11. So that goes to show you the Vikings a little bit of a lucky team this year. Give them credit; they've been able to find ways to win games. But if I'm going to be a stats-based handicapper, I just can't bet on the Vikings. I have to trust the numbers, and the numbers tell me the Lions. So I'm on the Lions this week, and I'm sure, just like every other week, I'm sure like the Jets game last week, I'm sure the Vikings will find a way to win.
Yeah, all right. I like the over in that one. I hope it's exciting. I hope both defenses stink. I hope there's no turnovers in the red zone. One last note on this Raiders game. Producer Tito, a note from him. The Raiders tied an NFL record last night with 4 losses after leading by 13 or more points in an NFL season.
I know who that's tied with.
The Atlanta Falcons, it's got to be.
It's got to be. I'd bet $1,000 that's the case.
Yeah. Okay.
Remember,
you don't know
like
the
2
answer to
seasons
that?
ago, there was in 3 of the first 5 weeks, they blew 20-point leads. There was one against the Cowboys, one against the Bears. It's the Falcons.
Yeah, you got to start over here. I know they just brought Devontae Adams in to pair with Derek Carr, but it's not. You've been doing this with Carr for 8 or 9 seasons now. You get a little bit of a glimpse once in a while. Sometimes, there used to be a period of a 2-week period where Carr would be what about Carr as an MVP sleeper? It's no consistency. What was that interception he threw last night? He just threw it up there. Okay, guys, if you love what we do here at Vegas Insider, I recommend checking out the Vegas Insider app. We've got up-to-date, easy-to-navigate odds for every major sport. We have all our latest shows, best bet videos, and podcasts, props, trends, futures, news, all on the Vegas Insider app. Download the Vegas Insider app right now on Apple and Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. All right, we put up a poll on Twitter, the Vegas Insider Twitter. Make sure you follow that on Twitter.com. Which of these 4 NFL underdogs is most likely to win outright on Sunday? We have the Jags as the smallest of the dogs, getting the most votes there. No shock there. The Jets with the fewest. Now the Jets, yeah, they're on the road. Biggest dog there. They do have a win over the Bills, and that win was no fluke. The Bills only outgained them by 0.1 yards per play in that game. I would have to go with the Cleveland Browns. I'm not betting that. I don't like any of these teams to win outright, but I would have to go with the Cleveland Browns. For some reason, they've had Joe Burrow's number. And it could be an ultimate sell-high spot on the Bengals. Do I think that's going to happen? Not really. But if I needed to pick one of these, I would go with Cleveland. Ian, if you were picking one of these teams to win outright, who would you go with?
The disrespect for the New York Jets makes me sick. This is a team that just beat the Bills a couple weeks ago, and only 13.1% of people say they're the best underdog this week out of these 4 teams. Give me the Jets.
Jets stand. You know, I could see Ian. He's so dissatisfied with his Atlanta Falcons, and there's no end in sight for the incompetence of the Falcons. I could see Ian. He lives in New York.
Yep.
He's been a big Jets stan. I could see a transfer, or he could do the thing where he accepts the Jets as his AFC team.
Just like I've accepted the Mets as my National League team in baseball. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Nothing wrong with that. All right. Lots of arguments in the future. Jets versus Dolphins. Okay, Tito just taking liberties here and just throwing things up. Let's get into it, I guess. Nice pick here from Luke Murphy. I like this one. Penguins money line -150. Revenge spot against the Sabres, who beat them last game. Letdown spot for the Sabres after scoring 9 goals versus the Blue Jackets. That was insane. I also like the Penguins in regulation, +110. Yeah, I'd gamble on the Penguins in a regulation in that one. Let's keep rolling through these, Tito. Another pick for this game. Big Penguins-Sabres show today. Shrek and Goss. He likes the over, +110. Both are top 5 in both expected goals for, high danger chances for over the last 10 games. Sabres are on a scoring rampage, scoring 5+ goals in 6 of their last 8 with an average of 5.8 over their last 5. Pens have scored 3+ in each of their last 8 road games. First matchup ended 6-3. All right, what's next? A bit of a different one here. I like when they're a bit different. Chef Pluto at Chef Pluto 313. Give this guy a follow, Ian. Tyrese Halliburton double-double, and the Pacers to win at +106. Wizards have lost 7 of their last 8. Beal is, a lot of injuries here. You don't know who's going to get into the lineup. Hachimura, Porzingis, I call him. Pacers 5-2 straight up. When a favorite, Halliburton double-double in 12 of his last 14. Man, he needs a lot of stuff to happen there. He needs 3 separate things to happen at +106. Because the double-double, within that, there's 2 separate things to happen. So he's going to get the points. I don't know, man. I wish you good luck with it, though. What do we have next? Winnipeg Jets -140. Okay, Chicago 1-10 in their last 11 with a goal differential -2.27 in that span. In that span, Hawks ranked 32nd in Corsi percentage, 31st in expected goals percentage, and 32nd in scoring chance percentage. Getting any team -140 versus the Blackhawks is a gift, especially the first. Yeah, I might have to hop on this, see who's playing net for them tonight. That's Chips. Chips Picks Daily. Yeah, give this guy a follow. Chips Picks Daily. I like the little image he has there, too. Yeah, I might have to hop on that. Stay tuned, Twitter. Matty Puppy Sports. a regular contributor to this segment. He's on the Titans -4 versus the Jags. Last 3 games head-to-head, the Titans have won 20 by 20, 18 and 21. Titans will rebound after last week's awful loss. Eagles, Jags are 2-5-1 ATS versus a team with a winning record. Titans 6-0 ATS versus a team with a losing record. Wow, lock of the year. We're going to hold you to that. Matty Puppy. The Titans. I like the Titans to cover too. We've talked about this. You don't always have the numbers to back them up at certain situations. They got embarrassed in a game in New England last year. They returned home to host the Jacksonville Jaguars, beat them 20-0. Got embarrassed last week versus the Eagles, returning home this week versus the Jaguars. I think they could clobber them. The Jags absolutely stink on the road. Okay, we'll shoot the shit a bit more, but not before I tell you about today's Handicapper Heat Check, presented by VegasInsider.com, your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Yes, Will Rogers, the mad scientist, we call him. Today's featured handicapper is Will Rogers, who hit 8 of 9 winners and is on a 14-3 college hoops win streak. Alex Smart also swept the board yesterday with a 4-0 record. And Joe Madden, 21-8 on college football over-unders this season. Visit VegasInsider.com/picks for today's best bets or the Army-Navy winners. That's your handicapper heat check. Stay hot, bettors. What do you think, Ian? You going to take the under in the Army-Navy? What's that up to? 16 straight unders?
I think you have to. I think you're obligated to.
It's funny. We'll touch on this Raiders-Rams game one last time. I'm watching that throughout the first half, throughout the first part of the second half, I guess. And I'm thinking, is this one that, the sports folks were just giving away free money? It's rare that you see us hit because, most people were on the Raiders last night. There wasn't much of a case, to quantify the Rams, never mind winning, covering that spread. Aside from saying, weird things happen on Thursday night, or, hey, it's the Raiders. There wasn't much there. And I was on them in the teaser. You had them covering. A lot of other people that I respect on Twitter and stuff like that were on the Raiders to cover. And it was just pure insanity. And when you have that in your head, are the books just giving us one here? Just giving away money? Sometimes you see it like the Nick Pivetta over 1.5 walks prop that was 18 of 20 at one, little under the radar shit that nobody cared. But a standalone NFL game on a Thursday night, you should have known better. Funny things happen, right? You can't always quantify these things. Ian, quickly, any thoughts on the UFC 282 here this weekend?
No. No, maybe I should have been prepared for that, but no. Be honest, Joe, I didn't look at a single second or a single fight on that card. I saw that Paddy Pimblett, Paddy the Baddy, got into it with Ariel Helwani, and he's in the co-main event. But he has a pretty good matchup. Who's it? Jared Gordon, I think he's fighting.
I don't know about Paddy. They're trying. Well, Jared Gordon's pretty good. It's his toughest opponent to date. Jared Gordon's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. They keep on putting these guys. They keep on trying to get the next Conor McGregor. They're trying to recreate that a bit with Paddy. Having some success with Sean O'Malley, although he didn't deserve that last win versus Piotr Jan. But Paddy, I'm seeing some glimpses. I saw him at that press conference yesterday talking shit. It reminded me a little bit of McGregor back at the press conferences years ago. Not dressed quite as nicely, but I don't know, man. There's been some sloppy moments in Paddy fights. Good on him because he's had a lot of finishes. So I don't mind if anyone wants to take a shot on Gordon there. My best bet is the Bryce Mitchell-Topuria fight. I took that to go to decision at plus 110. I think I get it. It's only a 3-round fight. Both guys are wrestling, grappling centric. Topuria he can knock anyone out in that division, but Bryce Mitchell has never been knocked out. So I think that's a good spot.
I like that.
But yeah, it's not the sexiest pay-per-view by any means. I think a casual fan, I'm a hardcore fan, but the casual fan will look at that. They see a couple of guys' names that they can't pronounce and names that they might not recognize, and maybe not a whole lot of appeal. So, I think that should be pretty good. But what else do you have going on, Ian, that Chasing That Paper viewers can check out?
The week 14 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast is live. Unfortunately, I'm 0-1 this week. Another bad beat of the Raiders last night, which we talked about. So, starting the week off with a loss, but I got my best bet for the 12 other games. And if you're watching this live, in about 25 minutes, I'll be going live with the Hammer Network with Crab's Bets, and we're going to give it our best anytime touchdown score picks for this weekend. So if you're watching this live, that'll be live in 25 minutes. If you're watching this later on in the day or on the weekend, you can check that out too at the Hammer Network. So lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, check that out. If I ever give out any props for the NFL, I strongly recommend fading them.
Yes,
because I suck at props so far this season. Hey, complete transparency around here at Chasing That Paper. All right, guys. Great week of shows this week. We thank everybody very, very much for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Don't drink and drive. Make sure to use protection if you're going to be having sex. Right, Ian? We're a big advocate. It depends how familiar. If it's like your wife or like a long-term partner, you know what I mean? And there's an element of trust there. But if it's like a one-time hookup type of thing, I think we can all agree that the sensation is a lot different. Right, Ian? Producer Tito doesn't know anything about that, but
no.
All right, that's enough sex talk with Ian and Joe for one day. We'll pick that up again on Monday. Hope we were celebrating some winners. So we say good luck with your bets tonight. Good luck with your bets this weekend, unless you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper.